Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
All right, so as we film this, we are 8 days away from starting the Big Wild Year, and this is our food overview of most of the things that we've collected through the last year or 2 years leading up to the Big Wild Year. So parts of this video are going to be us explaining what we've got here on the wild food set, and then I'm also going to overlay a little bit of footage or show other segments, which are the foods that are in our freezers, because we have 3 full freezers right now. Some of that is dirty hot dogs for the kids, but a lot of that is wild meats that are going to get us started on the 2019 year. Where to begin?
Some staples.
Okay, so
Flowers.
yeah.
So that's sedge seeds.
So these are sedge seeds.
1 little jar of the dock seed. And there's a
Okay.
whole whack of this, like, I don't know how much. Gallons.
Yeah, I have bowls of this stuff at home that haven't been jarred up yet. Here.
Acorn flour.
Yep. And acorns.
Those are the one kind. The other ones are under the table.
Okay. So, we've got lots of acorns. You've seen us picking acorns in a few videos, and the 2 species that we've been collecting are bur oaks and red oaks. So we've got some of each, and that'll be one of our staples through the Big Wild Year.
And then another staple.
Yeah, enough of maple syrup that we made last year. And then in a couple of months, or a few months, I guess, we'll be getting into another big batch of it when the season arrives. And that'll be our one and only sugar.
Yes.
Through the Big Wild Year.
And then something to add to our flowers.
Yeah, where did that all come from? Found it in the
Cattails.
freezer, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we have right now for cattail pollen. And where else do you want to go?
Let's do spices in general. So Delphine's got most of the spices, I would say, here. I don't have a lot at my house. But what's some of the selection of spices that we're using?
Okay, so, well, some of the stuff we thought we would, like, flavor meats and stuff with. So
Yeah.
we made the wild grape and apple, I don't even know what you would call
Juice?
it. Just, yeah. To add to things.
Yeah.
The salt that you got.
Is that it?
No.
That's all of it?
No,
Okay.
no.
I was gonna
There's more in
I
here.
thought there was more.
It's just, it was a good size to put in front of the other jars.
Okay, some Caribbean sea salt.
Sumac.
So our species is the staghorn sumac.
Sweet fern.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of sweet fern, right?
A lot. Yeah, there are, I don't know, maybe 6 jars.
Yes, and that's something we plan to use in cooking, but also in making tea.
I don't know what its scientific name is, but this is that poor man's pepper.
Yes, shepherd's purse. A lot of people call it poor man's pepper.
No, this isn't the shepherd's purse. This
Oh.
is the other one.
Oh, okay.
I do have some shepherd's purse somewhere, but
Sure.
it's a really small amount.
Things that we don't know the name for, we're just using common names. Maybe I'll also just subtitle with scientific names.
And this is 1 container of dried leek, which is, smells so good,
Oh yeah.
which is, for flavoring, but also it's kind of like a...
Kind of a green.
And then some of the things that we'll use for teas but could also be used for flavoring are here. These are all of the flower things. So the rose hips.
Yep.
These are the spring beauties.
Okay.
The tri-lily. Chamomile. Clover. Yarrow. This is Labrador tea. And, oh no, that's just something else.
Okay.
So, and then the chaga. And that's kind of what will be flavoring things, I think,
Okay.
mostly. And then we have our seeds.
Yeah.
These are the primrose seeds.
Yeah, and we're actually, now that we're getting to the bottom of the buckets, there's more of this than I thought there would be, so that's exciting.
Yeah, because I still have quite a bit to empty
Yeah.
out. So there's probably another, I don't know what that is, 3 cups?
Yeah, probably close to that.
So there's probably double that. Still have to be taken out of their little pods. Plantain seeds.
Okay.
Oh, and another little one of that. And then this, we're not 100% sure about it.
No, and I have a bunch that we were cutting trails and we cleared some alder branches out of the way, and then I dragged them home because they still have their catkins on.
But I've read some stuff about it, so we're going to use it.
So we might try roasting them or grinding them or something.
Yeah. Maple keys.
Okay.
Okay. Here are,
Yeah. Boletes.
and we have lots of those, and winter chanterelles, and I think there are a couple of jars of these, not as many. The black trumpet mushrooms, and I have a couple of jars of those, which is pretty awesome because they get really small when they're dried. So we filled up a few jars and it's really nice. And these, just if anyone's interested, smell the best when they're being dried.
Yes.
So good.
Swayless.
Thank you.
Slippery jacks.
The golden yellow chanterelles.
Yep. Hedgehogs.
Dried hedgehogs. So I'm interested to see what they'll taste like. And then a little mix of puffballs and something else. Oh, I know what's in there. What is it?
Oh, the aborted antilomas?
Yeah. The
Oh,
antilomas.
okay.
I dried them. And somewhere, I don't know why they're not here, but I dried those, the stinkhorn eggs.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
have 3 or 4 of those.
They dry up so small.
But they look exactly like you
Yeah.
can see them. They're really cool.
Cool.
And then this big container, I think there might be another one of this, which is the pheasant back, which smell like cocoa. So these are going to get pulverized and put into more like for flavoring or thickening.
Yeah. Through the
See what
grinder.
it tastes like. This is some bone set that I collected, and it might just be more like a medicinal kind of a thing, but it'll get added to some stuff. And then these are some other maple keys.
Okay. Different variety, it looks like.
Yeah, it is a different variety.
And this one is.
Oh, sheep sorrel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's not a lot
Oh,
in
yeah.
there.
I have some too at my
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Thought you did. And these were in another one of your videos. Those were the green. When we picked them, they were green and closed all up.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to get baked or like heated in the oven, but they got heated near my
Yeah.
fence. And so they just pop open and they're falling out. And so I collected or put a few in the jar already, but they're still in there.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bag of these that has to.
So
we'll
these
get
are
out
cones
little-
from the white pine tree.
Yeah.
Pinus strobus.
Walnuts.
Yep.
And I think that's probably most of the variety of.
Cool. And so everything behind us is just basically more of what's on
Yeah.
the table, with the exception of, like, I see some
There are
rose petals and
Yeah. I think
some odds
I
and
have-
ends.
Oh, I didn't put them down here. Okay, rose petals.
Yeah, but you've got rose hips here.
Yeah. And some things are things that we have from before that we can't use in the year.
Yeah, so other wild foods that we've made, but they're
But
gonna
have
become
honey.
vintage.
Yeah. We have honey in them, or we have some pickled leeks that
Yeah.
we'll have those next January 1st.
Cool. So we're also going to go through some of our freezer foods, but before we move from here, we could also talk about some of the books that are on display.
Yeah. Because it's been a long project. Maybe a little more for me, trying to learn about plants or just how to recognize them a little more easily, and then go out and find them around here, which I've been pretty successful with. So I don't know how many we actually want to talk about, but you can just pick up a variety of plants. Some of them are just about edible wild plants. You like this one?
Sam Thayer's books. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Sam Thayer's books.
And this is new to us.
Yeah. Patrick Boubé. Pascal.
And
Baudard.
yeah, so just so we can
Sorry,
learn
Pascal.
about fermenting, some different things.
Yep.
And some are just more about identification of all the kind of plant species that we have. And for different areas. I have one that's for a little further north of us, some are more south, and then ferns and trees. And so really just for me trying to familiarize myself with what they look like. And I have it might not actually be on the table, but one that shows all what they look like in the winter.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which is really helpful because
Yeah.
when you go out a lot, it's kind of easier to see because you're not blinded by a sea of green.
Yep.
Just like little things sticking up. And so it's easy to kind of see where things are to go back when they're growing.
Cool.
Well, I put these on the table. Some of the things that we collect for food, we also use for other things. Okay, these are spruce
Yeah.
roots.
Split spruce roots from the black spruce.
Yeah.
Maybe just as you're mentioning each thing, I'm going to bring them in for a close-up.
Yeah, just because we like to make use of it not just for food, but for crafts and other things. So that's a piece of, I think, the fawn that we sumac tanned.
Yeah.
These were the moose bones that I made into hairpins, which were super nice. And then this is a big length of milkweed fiber that I made into string.
Yeah, I don't know if we've shown this on the channel before, but how many feet of fiber are here that you've hand twisted out of milkweed?
That is, oh goodness, might be 40 feet.
Yeah. Lots.
And this is more for making little crafts with, but that's nettle.
Nettle fiber.
And do you know, I don't remember what this one is. It might
Is it
also be-
dogbane or more?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Dogbane.
And then the other thing, you know what these are? I dried them out and cleaned them up, but
Do they look good?
yeah, they look nice. They're my fingernails.
Bear
And
claws.
Bear claws. And these were from our catfish that we got a couple years ago. And I cleaned them. You helped clean them, but then I polished them all up so they're super shiny.
Yeah, so these are the venom spines that are inside of the fins. And they're like a bony structure with almost like a toothy sawtooth kind of an edge.
They're really attractive when they're all shined up.
Yep.
And then the other thing to mention that we've been doing is keeping track of things. So this is a calendar, and over the last couple of years we just write in what we found on what date, and then is it the same time the following year. Here, keeping track of different plants and ideas when I'm researching things. You know, I've got a whole list of things that might be used for flour or, you know, other things. And this isn't, there's nothing in this yet. It's blank. Because
Is that a January 1st book?
it's a January 1st book. This is where we're going to put all of our recipes.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know where my chokeberry here. So this whole shopping bag is in the freezer with blanched leeks, and they all say a third of a cup because I was trying to measure out what we might have per serving. And take the glasses off again.
Sure.
And I'm not sure where they are. I didn't dig enough in the freezer, but we also have the false Solomon seal shoots.
Oh yeah.
So there's probably a large bag of those that are in the freezer also. And there are several of these. These are all of the stinging nettle that were blanched.
Yep.
So there are a few of those in the freezer. Blueberries. I'm not exactly sure how many of this size there are. Probably 12 or 13. Chokeberries. And that's all that I have of those. Some sauteed mushrooms. Cutting and basting. Okay, so these are the milkweed shoots that we picked. And I think there's another bag of those. I'll put them here because we also picked a bunch of milkweed pods. So those are going to be like main vegetable things. I think I already showed those. Elderberries, and I have a lot of these. There are probably maybe 8 of these little bags. And so that's going to be really nice because we can use it for flavoring. These are all mushrooms that were just... Oh no, this is leeks, I think it says. We can read it from there.
Yeah. Chanterelles, lobsters, leeks. Bit of a saute mix.
Are they raspberries?
Wild strawberries, I think, those ones. Or raspberries. Raspberries.
Oh goodness, so I didn't bring out the strawberries, but I have only a few little bags of raspberries. Because they're harder to pick.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a really great year.
No.
2 summers ago. I made a few. It was pretty good last year, so I got a couple. And I have a ton of strawberries, so pretty similar to the bags of blueberries that I collected. Wintergreen. More blueberries. That's what happened. I grabbed 2 blueberries rather than... And... What does that
More
say?
raspberries.
More raspberries. And some cranberries.
Great. Little heads.
This is one of the catfish we got.
Yeah, catfish. 2 years old, but we'll eat it.
We'll eat it. Some of the other interesting little things. So those are all
Just
the
a little bit lower.
Yeah. These are all of the little bulbs. The trout lily and spring beauty. Remember we went and picked those little potato things?
Yeah, I wondered if those guys would show up somewhere.
And then those are the roasted trout lily corns. And there's more nettle in here, more leeks, and daylily shoots. And the daylily bulbs.
Nice. Lots of variety.
Have a peek inside. The rest of the, there's a little duck, a couple of grouse, and tons of blueberries, elderberries, all the rest of that stuff down there. And then this is a whole other batch of acorn flour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just has to have to thaw out and just
Process it a bit more.
Yeah, finish soaking it and then drying it.
Great. Maple syrup. 7 liters. It's one way to get the fat off your deer hide. Let the woodpeckers do it. Okay, so this is one freezer of, this is mostly meat that's put aside for the big wild year. So that is
the roadkill venison.
Yeah, the roadkill venison. So we did a video about that recently. That was a buck that we recovered off the road.
And then
yeah,
just from a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So this is the crossbow deer that I harvested. So there's lots of nice packages of that. Oh. There's also some bear. So the bear that I shot is in brown paper, and then there's some bear to share from.
Which has to get rewrapped.
Yeah, this is not Big Wild Year. This is Christmas.
This is Lazy Christmas.
That's Lazy Christmas. So the guys, they don't really wrap the way that I wrap. So there's basically like half or a quarter of a bear in each of these big garbage bags.
Selection of berries that you picked.
Yep. Yeah, so in here there's all
berries, milkweed. Oh, those are the dandelion greens. Not sure what that is.
It's bear meat to grind into sausage.
Oh, yes. Oh, the dandelion buds. Yum, yum, yum. Daisy,
amaranth, and something else. There's a few mixed bags in here.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then this is not just all wild food. I have to take a few things out of this freezer. There's some pork at the bottom. That can come out. And I think under this bag, there's another bag. There's a big piece of meat too. I think there's another bag with some berries. And then we'll have a look at what's in my other freezer. So, my stash of acorns. They've just been drying out up here in the top room of my house. Burr oak. Red oak. More red oak. So there's more primrose that we've been picking away at to separate the seeds. And over here, this is the lamb's quarter, which has basically gone to like green dust, but if you sift through it, there are little tiny black seeds in there as well. So I have a few jars of the sedge seed set aside. Some apple mint. There's a few of these jars. These are the Jerusalem artichoke, and I showed a video about how I put those through like a little slicer and then dehydrated them. So they should all be, I didn't seal these jars, but they're just nice and crispy dry. So I've got a few jars of those. For tea, there's yarrow. There's more sedge seeds. And shout out to Wes S. Here is some raccoon fat. Raccoon fat to go with the bear fat. So I have 3.5 quarts here at my house, so we'll be using some of that. And more yarrow. These are pork fat, these jars down here. Those are not for the big wild year. Okay, up here, this is chokecherry wine. There's 3 gallons of it. I need to check in on it because it looks like it's getting a little bit moldy on the top. It might become chokecherry wine vinegar and apple cider vinegar. Here is some Labrador tea. Labrador tea. So Delphine has some at her house as well. Goldenrod. I have 3 quart jars of the goldenrod for tea, and I have not so many clovers. Well, those clovers might have an issue. They look moldy.
I have lots of my place.
Okay, scratch the clover. Okay. We rendered some bear fat, and I was running out of jars at the time that we were doing it, so I have a whole assortment of mismatched jars of different kinds, and this is all the bear fat that I have at my place. And then at Delphine's place, you said about
I have a corningware dish full and another big mason
In a quart jar?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we've got for bear fat. So our fats right now are the bear fat and the raccoon fat. Random bits around my house, but this is pollen from white pine tree. I have some sheep sorrel seeds, and you saw some of that also at Delphine's house. I have a little experiment at the back. So these are fermenting Jerusalem artichoke roots.
And then take this
These
out.
are some hops from a hop vine. What's in the corner cupboard? So that is just grape juice being turned into grape vinegar. I guess a red wine vinegar as an experiment, and those are from grapes that we picked. These are apples that we picked, and an experiment with apple cider vinegar. Well, we're not sure yet if it's going to work out or not, but we're giving it a go. And there's another one of those down there. So there are 2 apple cider vinegar experiments and 1 red wine vinegar experiment. Some walnuts and Smarties. Just the walnuts for the big wild year. So this is the mostly mushroom wall here. I'll just zoom in and name off some names. So those are winter chanterelles, those are yarrow, this is wild mint, this is lechinums, and then down on the next shelf we have some really old mint, we have black chanterelles, we have hollow foot slippery jacks. These are some of the seeds from the primrose. This is goldenrod, boletes, this is an empty jug, this is the dandelion root, roasted and dried. This is a very small amount of dried wood ears. Dried lobster mushrooms, marasmius, lobster, morels, hen of the woods, the Griffola frondosa. There's a couple of dried mushrooms here. These are pickled mushrooms, so we're not eating these in the big wild year, but these are pickled chicken of the woods, so they're just going to get set aside. These are winter chanterelles. Those are those grass seeds that we collected under the oaks. We don't know what they are still. And these are some dried chokeberries and strawberries. There's some sumac leaves. This is for making a sumac tea for tanning hides. It's a little bit messy in here, but there's mushrooms. Oh, there's dog stinkhorn eggs, sliced and dried. There's chanterelles, mixed boletes in here, 2 more quarts of mixed boletes. There's black chanterelles and winter chanterelles mixed together. There are some lechinum, some boletes, some of the, just a very small amount of painted bolete. It's a specific variety. And now if we go way down here, maybe what I'll do is just shove the camera in there. Thanks. So these are all, except for that bag at the back, which is red oak acorns. They are what they say on the lid. So there's chokecherry juice. You can probably read those. Chokecherry juice. There are some pickled honey mushrooms here. There's some maple sugar from the Wooded Beardsman. And all these jars over here are maple syrup that we made last spring, and a couple of Tupperwares of maple sugar, as well as a couple of quart jars of maple sugar. Okay, and I'll have to do a little bit of shuffling here, but this is frozen maple sap that I found in the freezer, so I've just got a little bit of that, and I'll end up using that in the big wild year. Now These are frozen smelts.
Yum!
Yum, except that they're really old. And most of this basket is frozen cranberries, raspberries, and choke cherries. There's a couple of things in here for the kids, which are not part of the big wild year. These are not part of the big wild year. But these are not part of the big wild year. But everything else that's in here is, so for example, these are all my blueberries that I've got stored up, and none of them are from this year. I think they're all from the year previous. So it's pretty lucky to find that many in the bottom of the freezer. These are blueberries too. If we look straight down, this is all venison down in this bottom corner, except for the corn, which is corn. Then, this is not for the big wild year, and nor is this, but all those other parts down there, this whole bag is greens and berries and a few smelts. There's the bear cub that we collected as a roadkill, 14 pounds of bear cub, and underneath here are more meat. So there are 7 grouse, there are 2 geese, there are 2 ducks, there's 1 hare or 2 hares, and a few other packages of venison. And that kind of rounds out all of our wild food that we're starting with for the big wild year. Alright, so if I look at our accumulated species list, I have 16 species of fungi, 4 species of mammals, 2 species of fish. There are 4 species of birds, and for plants we have 59 species. So that's our species total right now.